one more time.
Okay, there we go.
So one more time. Oh, looks like it worked. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday stream. I'm your host, Gamer. With me, John T. Maxey. Say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
A little bit of a Band-Aid production tonight. Trying to figure out how to make all of the pieces fit together. We've got a little cards. Oh, it looks like it worked. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the lot of duct tape issues going on here. We're going to cover a couple of news items tonight before we chat with everybody. Johnson & Johnson news once again. This is a little bit different because it has to do with I think the last time we had a problem with Johnson, it was an issue with was it them or was it Pfizer is having problems with changing women's menstrual? A couple of news items tonight.
It was Johnson & Johnson. I don't know about the menstrual cycles though.
I don't know if that was Pfizer or if that was Johnson. Otherwise, we have a couple of things to talk about as far as Johnson is concerned because they stopped their deployment for like 3 days because of some little glitch, and now they have another little glitch. So we'll get on that in a moment. There's been some legal hustle. I don't know if you guys have ever had to deal with spam phone calls. It's pretty tough here in the States.
I get them on my mobile occasionally, but I can tell if it's a spam phone call once I answer it. It's like, okay, this is no one I care about. I'll end it.
Well, America, I should say states, because some people consider Canada part of America because it's North America. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah. But the states have passed a law that's forcing carriers to get involved in spam phone calls. We're going to also talk about what's going on with Cuba, and the fact that the country's on fire at the moment. And we got a couple other options. We may run out of time. I wanted to talk a little bit about Gwen Berry. I found an interesting video on TikTok that I thought we would play. It might be pretty fun. And what's going on with the Texas Democrats and what they're planning on doing next. We'll bring up to speed on what's going on there. But before we get started, anything new going on with you, Terry?
Nothing major. I bought downloadable content for one of the video board games that I was playing. So I spent most of my morning playing video games, Ticket to Ride, and I realized that there was new maps to play on. So song. That's also a song. It's also a song. But
What's that song?
It's Beatles.
Is that Beatles?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Beatles fan. I think I might have Abbey Road on CD somewhere, but
it's the board game is completely unrelated, and they made a video. They made a video game version of the board game, and that's what I was playing.
Oh, cool. Then how are things going in Canada?
The news up here hasn't changed in terms of regular news. In terms of me, I finally got my diploma, which I'm like, woohoo! Got that done. I didn't have to pay the long route version. I did it the cheap version way. I got that for $125. Take that, government of Canada. But thanks to the principal of that school, because they helped me out with that too.
How's COVID doing up?
So,
that's kind of the thing. My province is kind of free. There's a little bit of mistrust by us. Like some people, I still carry the masks with me just in case they change their mind, because I don't trust them not to do that last minute. And I'd just rather have them. But most places that I've gone to are mask free now. Some places kind of are like they have some places are like they like if they see you doing it, they might have a preference for that, but they can't enforce it anymore. So I'm like, yee. Is
And do you still have to go through the whole 2 month
yes,
hotel
yes,
room?
yeah. That stuff is still the same. Yep.
That's crazy.
Um, and honestly, it's between provinces at this point because you're not really getting a lot of international flights. Like there are still people traveling, but it's it's not the same as it was a couple of years ago. Most of it's just between provinces. You go from one province to the other province, and yeah, you might be asked to social distance for a couple of weeks. I don't know necessarily about the hotels for that one. If it's international, it's absolutely you go to a hotel.
Difference between states and provinces. You know, the way
States and
America
provinces.
sees it, states are all just one part of the United States. Traveling from state to state, there's no
Well,
difference really.
well, yeah, but you still have some differences in how the laws are abided by, though, right? Like,
There are state laws, but yeah,
provincial laws are like that too. Like provincially, there's laws that are different between our provincial leaders kind of call how the healthcare is actually handled per province. It's just that they kind of have to answer to the feds,
there's a lot of
So
states here who don't have mask laws, but most of them have backed off the masks. So if you travel to Pennsylvania, where I am,
Mhm.
you don't have to wear a mask. There's a mask guideline, but it's not you must wear. It is we think you should wear. But if you travel to our neighboring state of New Jersey, whole different story.
Well,
They're crazy down there.
New South Wales has kicked back into lockdown mode, which is annoying. I went up to the supermarket and there were like signs everywhere: no mask, no entry, and all this stuff. Like, I'm just going to get them delivered. I don't care. I'm not going to buy a mask.
Yeah, I have a mask. You ever seen the movie They Live?
I know of it. I haven't actually seen it.
Have
Me
you seen it?
neither.
No.
No.
It was one of those movies that's a great movie that no one knows about. And
Well,
it's
I
kind
know
of a
about it. I just haven't seen it. That's the one
but
where
the
he's
average
got
person
he's got the
doesn't know.
glasses that like show him the truth.
Yeah, it stars Rowdy Roddy Piper, who is
Yep.
a WWF
Back in
champion
the day. Yeah.
back when it was called the WWF World Wrestling Federation. And he did an excellent acting job in the movie. In any case, the movie was without spoiling it too much. The movie was about the world had been invaded by aliens, but they had set it up so you couldn't see that they were alien. They looked normal to us. But if you put on these
Yeah.
special glasses, you could see them, the aliens that they really were. Not only that, but there was subliminal messaging all around. So a sign that said, buy Subaru, the new Outback has just arrived, or something like that you would normally see. When you put the glasses on, it would say consume in black and white.
Yeah.
And one of those signs was obey, black and white. So I got a mask that says obey in black and white. So I get a lot of looks when I have to wear a mask, because I have to do a lot of medical stuff. So there's no choice; you have to wear a mask if you go in the hospital.
And that stuff I would agree with too.
Yeah, I get a lot of looks.
I mean, as a courtesy to the other patients, I would do that actually.
Yeah.
Not really for myself, but for other people, just because. Actually, you kind of should do that even if you didn't have the coof.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what kind of hospital you're at, like you kind of really should, just because, like, the angel of death is kind of what they tell you goes through those hospitals. And
well, speaking of the coof,
yeah,
the first line up on our agenda here is a little bit of controversy with J&J. I'll read you the headline. Let me for this.
For the record, Elwyn did answer you earlier. She said that all of them kind of affect the female menstrual stuff.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that, and if that's the reason they were a bitch the last 2 months, I'm shaking my fist in your general direction, Trudeau. You dick.
I don't know how much detail I should be getting into here. I read up on it, so I'm clear about it. I just remember which one it was, but it affects a lot of things. When you have a couple of women in the house, they have a tendency to sync up. with each other,
Yeah.
and this breaks the
At work
sync.
too. At work too.
It breaks the sync. So if you're normally 32 days, because it can run anywhere from between 24 and 40 days. If you're normally every 32 days, but the person you're living with is every 30 days, you usually end up being 31 days together. What this does is it breaks the sync so that you go back to what you normally do, and the other person goes back to what they normally do. That's one thing. And it's causing more fluid. I'll put it that way to be as genteel to the men out in the audience as I possibly can. So there's those are the two issues. But what J&J is doing now, on my mouse cursor, hopefully this looks normal. J&J confirms it's talking to the FDA about risk of Guillain-Barré syndrome, this COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccine maker Johnson & Johnson confirms Monday it's talking to the U.S. Food Administration about an increased risk of rare virological among people those COVID-19. Discussions with the U.S. Food other regulators about rare cases of neurological disorder Guillain-Barré syndrome.
It's a good thing they're forcing the vaccine on everyone then, isn't it?
Yeah, this is now this doesn't have anything to do with Pfizer. It doesn't have with Moderna. Both of those vaccines require booster shots, where Johnson and Johnson not. And the way they react within the body, the attack is a whole different story. How these vaccines work, Johnson & Johnson is the odd man out. So what I should have done, I didn't do, background on Ray. I've heard about it several times because I used to watch House MD. And whenever somebody had a problem that started at their feet and worked their way up their body, the first thing somebody would say is it Guillain-Barré? And he'd say, no, it's not Guillain-Barré because of this, that, and the other. You know, this blood panel said this and this blood panel said that. It's not Guillain-Barré. So that's why I heard the name and know how to pronounce it is from that. But it is a neurological disorder that starts at the feet and works its way up. And it makes I think it just makes you numb. You lose sensation to the point where you can't
you're basically
control.
immune to it. They can't target your feet.
I wouldn't make it wouldn't make any difference to me. I can't feel my feet as it is. So
that's what I mean.
Nothing changes. But yeah, but it prevents you from using the limb as well. You can't feel it, but you can't either control it either. Which is I can still, even though I cannot feel my legs, I can look at my foot and I can move it by looking at it. I can tell where it is in space, but I feel it. So yeah, so I mean it's rare, but it's bad. Guillain-Barré is one of the bad ones because it's a neurological disorder. So if you damage a nerve, that's Dunsville. There's no way to recover from that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where I've been stressing that people like talk to their doctors first. Really, really just talk to your doctor first. Just let them know everything that you think you've got.
Sorry, just quickly. Reject says Hammer's audio is like cutting in and out for her. It sounds fine to me, but I'm like on the StreamYard call, not on the YouTube thing. So just something for Hammer to be aware of.
Anybody else noticing a problem? That's odd.
Well, Reject is the one I'm talking about. She's the only one I've seen.
I think Johnny said something earlier, but nobody said anything afterwards. So I thought maybe it kind of cleared up, or it just isn't so bad that, you know.
That's weird. I'm looking at OBS. Normal.
Okay, maybe it's at Reject's end. I saw the comment and I thought we better, address it.
Yeah. I sound okay to both of you guys, though.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Yeah. To me, you're uninterrupted and clear as a bell. But
we had a lot of stops and starts when it comes to running the stream tonight. Maybe something in it. Nothing really I can really about it.
Okay.
Apologies. So yeah. During Pfizer seemed clear for this one. So we'll see what happens. Relatively, you guys haven't heard about this issue.
No.
Yeah, this is a recently we'll see what happens next. I have not been vaccinated. Have either of you?
I haven't.
You haven't? You, Jen?
I've got both of them for Pfizer.
Oh, okay, so you
Okay.
get both shots from Pfizer.
Mhm.
You haven't had any problems. You're okay, right?
Far as I know, at best, the second round, I was just really tired.
Mm-hmm.
But I just figured that was just normal symptoms. Like, it was either going to be that or like maybe feeling a little bit run down, or I was worried about my arm stiffening up because the first one did that a lot. Second one was like off and on for that, which was weird. Like sometimes it would be stiff and sometimes it wouldn't be, and then other than that, I was fine.
Was it?
Mm,
Did it
I'm
hurt?
not.
Did it hurt at the injection site? Got a sore arm?
Nope. I always look away when they do the shot, and I just picture in my head, like, they try to tell you that it's supposed to be like a mosquito bite. I'm like, that is not a mosquito bite, but it helps me from tensing up. So
Just, I'm not scared of getting COVID. So, I mean, there seems little value in getting a vaccine for a disease I'm not scared of. So, if I get sick, I get sick. I've been sick before. I'll probably get sick again. If it happens to be COVID, it happens to be COVID. I'm not bothered.
and you never leave your house. So I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a lot of deliveries. Like every meal I get is delivered. So a single delivery man passes it on. I mean, I could get it. It's just I don't care if I do.
yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Something that seems to have kind of flown under the radar that I was surprised about this. I even tweeted about it and nobody even replied. As of June 30th, a federal law was, no one's talking about, requiring all phone carriers to identify spam caller. So
Right.
if someone has got a farm and they're making spam calls,
Mhm.
now the responsibility of whatever carrier they're using, whether it be, I mean, this is cell phones too,
Mhm.
Frontier, whatever you're using, Verizon, that if it's a spam call, they are required to, I mean, as of
But
June 30th.
if they're calling from say India, aren't they using like an Indian carrier that wouldn't be
They
subject
do,
to
but
American laws?
it still has to end up on our network.
I guess, yeah.
And at that point, it's now the responsibility of whoever's carrying it on our network. So if I was using Verizon as my carrier, whether it be cell phone or a wired phone, if a
Hmm.
call came in to me from wherever, they would look at this and say they would have to determine whether it's a spam call before it was ringed to my phone.
That seems to be a pretty big ask. Like, how do they determine what's spam? Is it just call volume from the same
I guess
source?
call volume from the same source, or if they're reported as a spam.
Okay, but if it's reported, then that means they've already failed by the law.
No, if you report somebody as a spam caller, they can call you again. There's nothing to stop them. If they're not in the United States, you can't find them. Nothing you
No,
can
but I'm
do.
saying if the law is that they have to stop it from even ringing your phone,
It is
the
now.
fact that
It wasn't, but
yeah,
it is now.
no, but that's what I'm saying. If they go by reported, then by the time they receive the report, they've already broken the law because
Once.
someone received the call.
Yeah, once. They get to break the law once. So if they're making 4 million calls a day, and one person calls up Verizon and says that was a spam call, Verizon says,
Hmm.
"Yay, we know who that is," and they're gone.
But there have to be some sort of verification. Like I could call up and say, "There's this hammer guy. He's pretty shifty. I think he's a spammer." I
Yeah.
mean, they can't just cut your phone off because one random person called up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the technical details behind it. All I know is that they passed a law on the 30th. So if you're getting spam calls, at least in the United States, if you're getting spam calls, that spam phone call should drop off pretty quick. I've noticed myself that we have not gotten a spam phone call in the last 2 weeks. Not one.
Awesome.
And we used to get 1, 2 a week, maybe. And it was a weird spam phone call because they would call, and we pick up, and there was nobody there.
I had those years and years ago, but the ones I get of the Amazon scams where they try and convince you that someone has used your Amazon account to buy something and then make you go through the refund process so they can scam you.
No. Yeah, all we've ever really gotten is this. It's regular, like not in the same time every week, but it's guaranteed you're going to get it at least twice a week, where the phone will ring. I'll pick it up. I'll say hello. And there's nobody there, and they don't hang up. You have to hang up. It just stays active until you hang up. I mean, we sat there and let it sit for 10 minutes. It got back on. It was still there. I was like, whatever it is, I hang up.
I had assumed that you were just sort of waiting for the spammer to finish their other call and then pick up yours.
Yes.
Costin wants to know what's the wording on this law? Do these carriers need to list the names of businesses, or is spam specifically named? Sure.
It's yeah, all the
Welcome
calls
once
I get, it's like a robot who just says, "This is a Amazon reporting an iPhone that has been purchased on your account." Like, bye.
Got it. Link in chat for you to take a look.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, even I have a security system, and what it does is when a phone call comes in, the first ring on the phone rings. I can't stop that.
Yeah.
But it picks up and it says to the person on the other end, "You want to ring the house line? Hit 0 on your phone."
Yeah.
Well, if it's a robocall,
They won't do that.
Robot won't be able to do that. So,
Yeah.
So that's how we weed out that. But it would still get that one ring. And now I'm getting no rings. Got like $70 for the security device to do this.
Sounds like money well spent.
It was, but now I'm not going to get any damn calls. So now it's useless. So, whatever. Put it on eBay.
Yeah.
So yeah, for people who get spam phone calls, that's good news in the States. I don't know if that's gonna get picked up by Canada, eventually Australia.
Well, first of all, are these Indian people able to speak in French? Because if the answer is no, they probably shouldn't be calling my country.
Well, isn't only one province really a French-speaking province? All the rest of them are all English?
Not really. No, not really. It's actually spread out a little bit more from just Quebec. It's just Quebec's the one that's most known. But I believe New Brunswick is half French, and Manitoba is half French, and there's quite a good sized chunk of the north. I'm not sure if this. Elwyn's in the chat, so she's gonna call me on this, and so is Costin, so they're both gonna call me on this. But I think the northern part of Ontario is fairly French. But it's once you hit Saskatchewan and Alberta that like we're kind of like, yeah, no, we don't really have a lot of French. Unless the French come out here, there's not a lot of French. We do have it on the back of our products though. So you can pretend like you speak French. It's really terrible though. Flaque de masse. Do you like cornflakes?
Well, I mean, isn't it at the edges where you lose?
Yeah, BC is not a lot of French either. They actually have a well, everybody has a mixed community, but I'd say they have more of a native community. If you hit Vancouver, you're gonna hit more Asian. There's a lot of Vietnamese. A lot of Chinese. The Chinese have definitely bought up the market of housing. So,
You know, I've actually been to Canada.
have you?
I
Did
have
you like
been-
it?
I've been to Canada. I flew in the Toronto airport, and I spent several times. I flew to Toronto, and the company I work for had an office in Mississauga. So I spent probably overall about a month every year working up there. So it wasn't any problem. I just passport. We're here. Okay, let's go. It was no big deal. This was a long time ago. You know, I mean, I didn't have any problems while I was up there. Nobody came to me and said, "Why aren't you speaking?"
Mhm.
Everyone I spoke to spoke English, and I didn't really even notice an accent. Very like
Just
okay.
say we croissant, and that.
Croissant. I don't think there's an R in the French version. The W, croissant.
Croissant. Yeah.
But I would say croissant or something like that just to piss them off.
It's,
So yeah, that's
in,
the end of spam phone calls.
in Friends, Joey trying to speak French is one of the funniest things that ever happened on that show. Because
On Friends, yeah.
yeah, he's Phoebe is teaching him how to speak French, and he's like just making up nonsense. He's like, "Je m'appelle Joey."
Friends
like-
was at a weird time for me. I was too old for Friends.
But it's like he can't hear any difference between his gibberish and the French that Phoebe's actually teaching him, and like she's just getting incredibly annoyed with him.
Yeah, I never. I was in, I guess, my 30s when Friends came out. So I was like older than the Friends because they were like college, right? That's when people in Friends were they were like college students. That
They weren't college.
They were
they were like mid-20s. I think they were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're old. They're basically old friends that kind of met up with each other later on in life, and they all just kind of live in the same apartment complex.
Yeah, I mean, I like the show, but I mean, I wouldn't go back and watch it again. There's just sort of a handful of things that stuck with me as being really funny from the show.
Okay. Well, next up another half an hour. Cuba. Everyone's talking about Cuba.
Ooh.
And the fact that there's riots and police are shooting people with rubber bullets and that kind of stuff, and now supposedly Cubans are getting hold of rifles and shooting live ammunition back. You guys heard about all this?
No.
I kind of have a little bit, but it's not just Cuba. I think France had some stuff going on too. But I don't know as much about Cuba as France.
France was like the yellow jacket.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing with Macron and.
Yeah, there was quite a few marches today. Like I think Greece had a big one too. But Cuba is probably different. Like I think there's is different.
They're the main.
Yeah.
But,
good for them.
But Biden announced that he won't allow immigrants in from Cuba.
Of course not.
You can come in if you're from Mexico.
I recall once upon a time, a couple of years ago, there was this orange man who did that to a certain group of people, and they classified him as a certain kind of person. It's amazing how short the memory span is.
The reason is, at least in my opinion, is Mexicans coming in will vote Democratic, but Cubans are known to vote Republican.
Yeah, because they don't like communism.
Yeah.
I did hear about the Cubans not being allowed into the States. I didn't hear about the actual like fires and like protests and stuff like that.
Yeah, huge protest stuff going on. Government's starting to crack down. As a matter of fact, Venezuela said that they would assist Cuba if needed.
Is that why my prime minister's been looking so mopey? He's concerned about his other papa.
I think he just ran out of black face paint.
or his
That's
uncle
what
or
I said
something
about
like that. I don't know. I don't know the extension of that family.
So yeah, it's kind of like all over CNN, all places, and talking about it. Surprised that CNN is talking about it as much as they are.
Well, I suppose they've got to try and get their own spin on it before the truth gets out.
But the deal is that Americans don't want to live in America, or at least states, but Cubans want to be here. Kong wants to. Everybody else sees this country for what it is, except if you're a Democrat, then this place is the worst place ever. Get it?
But the thing I don't get is the people who say it's the worst place ever, they don't seem to be in a rush to leave. Like,
It's always the point, isn't it?
like if I thought that this was the worst country in the world, I would be trying to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I guess much they want to get out as they want to change it.
Mm-hmm.
That's power. Hang on a second, I'll be right back.
Yeah, I want to support that though. I think it's about time. You know, I am about people taking charge of their own lives and trying to go their own route. And like, yeah, it might be bumpy and things might not always go the way that you planned, but it's always better to do that and make your own choices than to have someone else make your choices for you.
I say make the entire state of California an autonomous zone.
Mm-hmm.
Give people like a week to leave if they, don't want to be part of it. And then, all the crazies. Okay, you want to be like that? You hate America? Off to the autonomous zone. Have fun.
And then we can all gift them free eucalyptus trees, and tell them to forget that they're kind of flammable.
It's weird. There was a lot of information on CNN earlier today about Cuba, and now I'm going and looking, and there's nothing here about it. It's like it's got scrubbed from their website. Talk to Fox. Yeah, keep talking.
I think that does make sense. I think they covered it, then they realized that it didn't look good for them, so they stealth deleted all the articles about it. It just sort of makes sense to me that they realized that it wasn't working in their favor, so they just quietly got rid of it.
Well, now I'm concerned. I don't see.
I mean, I don't trust Fox any more than CNN, to be honest.
I thought the other side of the aisle would at least talk about it. Not talking about it, then typically Fox does.
True, but I mean, maybe they can't think of a way to make it the Democrats' fault, and the Democrats can't think of a way to make it Trump's fault.
Whenever somebody talks about Trump nowadays, my first reaction is, he's not even in office. What are you talking about?
What difference does that make? They still think he's the source of all evil in the world. I don't think they care. I think his mere existence emanates a corrupting force that...
I think they're trying to hold on to their ratings, because while Trump was there, they had good ratings, for relatively not... I mean, Fox is much better than CNN at the time, but everybody was up because generating some... Now that he's gone, they don't know what to do.
But there's a website called Quora, Quora, and I get like, these are the big conversations. They're still blaming everything on Trump. There's like, this is the format is they ask a question and then like everyone offers their answers, and it's like questions like, is Trump the worst president we've ever had, or even out of office, is Trump still to blame for X? And like, it's, how should I distance myself from family members who still like Trump? And this is the biggest anti-Trump thing I've ever seen, and it used to be a good site, but the Trump hate hasn't gone anywhere.
Well, no, because they're afraid of him coming back, and I'm just like, he might, but I don't think he is. No,
he's not. He's not going to come back.
No, he doesn't have enough for support from the Republicans. Like they pretty much let their support be known.
Frosted says that Hammer is really quiet. I don't know if you can change your audio settings.
Yeah, if I turn away, we talked about this before. If I turn away from my microphone, I get quiet real quick.
Oh, okay, just that.
I was speaking to my microphone. I promise. I don't think Trump has a shot anymore. I mean,
No,
there are other Republicans who are in a much better position than him. If he runs, every Democrat in the world is going to vote against him. Just end of story. So
yeah,
that's going to be you're much more likely to see Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Christine Noem. All of those people are much more likely to get in than Trump is.
yeah. I mean, I don't know anybody's actual policies because I've got no real reason to look into it. But yeah, all those names I've heard of. Whereas I don't think if Trump tried to run, he'd have a chance in hell of getting elected again.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But as I said before, I don't really think Trump is.
Well, they've programmed his name to inspire fear for a lot of people, and that's just it's ridiculous. It's absolutely 100% ridiculous. But that's the facts of the matter. Like a lot of those people really believe that they were going to go to like camps and stuff. It was really stupid.
They still think that he's going to find some way.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, yeah, that's the story with Cuba. Big unrest in Cuba. We'll see what happens next, but it looks like almost a civil war started there. Anyway,
sounds good. Don't go to Cuba. That's the takeaway from this stream. Don't go to Cuba.
I'm not going to Cuba. Have you heard about the Texas Democrats?
No.
Jen? I think we lost Jen. Jen, you still there?
Nah, I'm still here. My brother was like, I decided to feed us. And I was like, oh, okay.
Have you heard about what's going on with the Democrats from Texas?
I have not, but this should be interesting because Texas is our rival as far as, well, not really. There's a lot of places in the U.S. that are our rivals, but I just know of Texas because of the Red Square.
All right. Well, what's happening is Texas is a red state, with the exception of maybe one or two cities. In Texas, it's a red state, very red, and Governor Abbott has a tight hold on Texas. He has the ability to, like the Democrats do for the federal government, he has the right to. They own everything there, the Democrats in Texas, so he can pass anything he wants to. So he's passing these voting reform bills, and the Texas Democrats know that they can't stop it. So what they did was they left Texas without a certain number of Democrats there. There's no quorum. You don't have enough people to vote.
Yeah.
So Governor Abbott said, well, if you don't come back and do your job, I'm going to have all of you arrested.
Does he have grounds to do that?
Yeah, it's right in the law.
Okay.
Good for him.
Yeah, if a representative does not show up, or the governor calls a special meeting. If they don't show up for the special meeting, they can federal or I'm not sure if it's federal or state agents can be sent to find them and bring them back. And if they refuse to, they can be arrested and brought back anyway. That's how I get it. So I mean, it's like, holy mackerel. I mean, things have really gotten weird in the States. So this is starting to get like really crazy.
I think people are getting, it's not just heated, but I think there's a little bit of stress because it's kind of clear in the field that the people in charge right now really shouldn't be. Like between Biden and Harris, and I'm not saying that to be like a revolutionary in any sense. I'm saying like their grasp on anybody is not very strong. And I think a lot of people can kind of sense that, like the blood is in the water. So I don't know if it's the Republicans are kind of like gearing up in case something happens. Because I honestly don't know. Like there's so many like what ifs when it comes to Biden and Kamala. For one thing, I don't even know what they're doing with Kamala. Like there doesn't seem to be a lot of love for Kamala on their side. And Biden's like anything can happen to Biden. Someone could like breathe in his general direction and he could fall over. You know, and I, you know, honestly, I'm glad that nothing bad happened to him when he was talking. Like, I mean, I didn't think anything bad would really happen to him talking to Putin, but like, you know, I don't doubt Putin is well aware of what he's dealing with.
An idiot.
Yeah. You know,
Elon Musk got on the I don't know if it was Joe Rogan or what kind of thing he was doing, but he was talking how China in the next 5 years will have a double the amount of enlisted people in their military as the United States. He says we'll still have a technological advantage, but they'll have so many people that even with our technological advantage, we would probably not win. They'd just be able to overwhelm us. That's a scary thing for an American to hear. Actually, it's a scary thing for a Canadian and an Australian to hear too.
Well, yeah, we're in the same boat. Yeah. And half of us would bend over for them anyway and just be like, as long as you don't shoot us, just take them. They would totally do it.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that, to be honest with you, I have a feeling they would come through Canada. That they would go to you first because you're not going to resist.
They kind of already are. Like, I mean, they do stuff up in Vancouver. Like they do, like, I don't know what it is that they do, but like I hear about it all the time. You know, Chinese military on the coast and yeah, they'll probably go in through BC. I mean, it's right next to Washington. And I wouldn't see them going through Quebec. I don't see them going through Toronto. I'm not saying that they couldn't, but I don't see the point in them doing that. But for them, yeah, they're totally going in through this.
Well, they would come off the coast. They would go into BC, and from the BC, they would come down through Washington State.
But it's not just you that they want to conquer, though. They want the whole thing. Like you guys are great, but you're the thing that basically puts a foot stop on them conquering everybody else, or at least starting to.
Yeah.
Because if they conquered anybody, you would. The Americans pretty much have the allies that are geared up to stop that kind of shit. But with you guys out of gear, they can do whatever the fuck they want. So yeah, they want all of us because North America is like resource central.
We're the only really democratic power when it comes to how the world works as far as NATO is concerned and all that kind of stuff. You have China and Russia. That are huge communist countries, and then you have us. We're the only balance between those two. So if they get us, there's nothing to stop them from getting everybody else.
True.
So, but I mean, it's scary for me to hear that China is going to be in a position to actually have, because we've been so far ahead of them technologically. You know, or YF-22, whatever the fighter is, YF-45, whatever the latest fighter is, can shoot down their planes and never be seen by their planes. In other words, they'll engage and they'll say, okay, well, we have, you know, there's a fighter in the area and they're looking and looking, and meanwhile they're all dying because they can never find us. Our footprint for our plane, our footprint's the size of a basketball. Our radar footprint. So it's like,
yeah, this is stuff that I've been suspecting for a long time. Like I noticed little things like the latest photo shoots with Justin. Like the guy looks like death, and I wasn't sure if that was a sign of the prescription drugs that I know he's on, because he is on them. He just, for a guy who's as healthy as he is, and I know the job is kind of harsh, he doesn't look good, and it's the sign of stress, like, you know, and it makes me really nervous to see that, because this is the guy who's willing to sell us out. I absolutely believe that 100%, because anytime he talks about Canada, it's not really with fondness. It's with, you just basically follow and worship me, do as you're told, and you'll be okay. Maybe, because he would happily sell us out and move to France.
The very authoritarian kind of outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Must be scary.
It's
The
absolutely
office,
terrifying.
the office will ruin you. I mean, look at Barack Obama when he went in, and when he came out, and he's all gray and hunched over and stuff.
Mm.
You know, I don't doubt the decisions that you have to make in that position can be harsh. I wouldn't be surprised at the grace, you know, especially when you're dealing with so many people, or even the type of people you have to deal with. Like, you know, if I knew I had to politely talk to some horrible world leader, knowing the kind of shitbag that they are, and keep a straight face, yeah, that's stress. I respect people who have to do that.
The only
But
person who's ever been in office that seems to have ended up being okay is Trump. He's not quite as orange as he went in.
no,
But
I
he's
think
not gray.
I think he took that as criticism, though, which is fine. It's just like, oh, it took you that to get to figure out that you're a little bit more orange than you should be. But you know what? They turned around and they just kept changing his skin tone anyway, so he'd look more orange. It was just like, you really can't leave that one behind, right? Like, you're from the crowd that's like, don't go with like physical smears, folks, because that's wrong. You know, how you look as a person shouldn't be how you judge a person, but we're going to go with orange man.
It's funny how they were so willing to call him Orange Man all the time.
Yeah.
Because of his skin, but, you know, their rules are don't judge people by the way they look, yet we'll judge him because not on our ideology.
Yeah.
Part of us, so.
I don't
Same
think
thing
they...
with Caitlyn Jenner. They're doing the same thing with her.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same. It's the same thing with like, don't judge women by how many people they sleep with, and yet incel is a common derogatory term for men. It's like they don't care about following their own rules.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't. I'm there. You got people who are dead naming. What's her face to her face? The hell's her name? Jenner.
Caitlyn.
Thank you. They're people now that she's a Republican who's potentially running for office and all this kind of stuff. Now, when reporters are asking her questions, they're calling her Bruce. They're dead naming her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not Fox News that's doing it.
And it's completely unnecessary. You know, all they really have to do is what they're actually supposed to do. Find out what it is that she's talking about and ask her like counter questions on it. Mm-hmm. Do their fucking work.
But Married with Children actually slightly predicted the whole Caitlyn Jenner thing, because there's one episode where Marcy gets confused for Bruce Jenner. Like, this is, you know, long before any talk of Bruce transitioning.
Yeah.
And like the joke was, they see Marcy, oh, it's Bruce Jenner, and like,
it's funny that Bruce Jenner now looks more like a female than she did in the show.
Yes.
She looked pretty butch in the show. Short hair.
She did. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. I have one more thing left. I'm not sure if I can get it on the screen. It's a video file, TikTok. I don't know if we're going to get trouble if I play it, but see if I can get this to work. I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to hear it or see it. If it's too loud, I have very little control over it. But see if we can. I'll start a little bit and I'll pause it like a lot of people do to see if it's too loud for you guys.
Sure.
Gwen Barry, you do not represent me as a black American. As an American. How dare you? You entitled piece of shit! On the world stage, you turn your back? Really? This is what it comes to?
You guys seen this before?
Not really. I mean, we can hear it back through you. I think it worked fine for the stream. So,
the stream
I can't really. I can't really hear it, but
Assassin of the Grey said it was buckle up, buckaroos.
Yeah, you may not be able to hear it because I'm playing a video file through OBS as opposed to playing it on stream. So you guys probably won't hear it, but the chat should be able to hear it.
Okay.
Anybody watching the stream, if you have the stream up, you can unmute it and listen to it that way if you want to hear it.
If I did that, it would echo. So I'll just.
Assassin says the audio is good, so let's play the rest of it.
See, you can do that in the United States. You try to do that in China as a Chinese citizen or Russia as a Russian citizen. You gonna get beat the fuck up. The fact that you can even do it, you privilege. You talk about white privilege, this is black privilege, used in a worse way. Because you know if it's backlash, nothing's gonna happen to you. You don't represent me. My father, uncle, and my mother fought for this country. You should get 10 years in prison and pay a fine. Fuck you!
I wish you guys could hear that because that's the best part. He goes through talking about Gwen Berry and you know, ripping on her, and then he pauses for like a good 5 seconds, and finally he just yells "fuck you" at the end. That's the end of it. I wish you guys could have heard it. I still am working on getting all of my technical stuff straight with OBS so that you guys can hear the things that I play. Right now it's not working for YouTube, but I'm sure the people in chat are laughing their asses off right now. So.
And Frosted wants to know who Gwen Berry is.
Gwen Berry is an Olympic athlete, a runner. It's not the girl with the dyed blonde dreadlocks and the fingernails. It's the other chick.
Kind of look. I mean, they both kind of look like a man, but Gwen definitely looks kind of like a man. I thought she was trans for a second, and I thought that's why she was turning her back, and then it was like, no, she's just an activist. I was like, oh, she doesn't even have that. Oh, I know she's black. I guess it's a black one. I don't know. I don't know what activist she is, but
that video just made me like guffaw laugh when I heard it. I was like, because he was speaking exactly what I would say. And what he's doing is he's saying, you're using black privilege to do this. He says, if you're using it the worst way possible. But the whole thing is a pause. I almost stopped it when I was watching the TikTok. I almost a pause. And I thought, oh, well, that's over. He just didn't hit the stop button. Then out of nowhere, fuck you. It's like, whoa, okay, okay. I couldn't start this.
Kiefer said that she specializes in the hammer throw. Sorry, I do get the confused. So that is the confusion, I think, is that the pot lady is the one who runs and Gwen is the hammer lady.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, that other chick, the one who that's a tough thing because I'm not a big proponent of pot. I'm really not. But it's she knew the rules and she broke them. You know, that's a Top Gun quote. You know, the hard deck was 20,000 feet. You knew it. You broke it. Well, pot's not supposed to be part of your regime. You knew it. You broke it. You know, you had to pay consequences.
We had a case up here, and here's the thing: they've completely ignored our story. You know, a couple of years back in the Olympics, we had a guy who would have gotten the gold. He should have gotten the gold. It's just they found traces of pot in his system, and he said that he hadn't even been smoking it. He had just been in an area where his friends were smoking it. He still had traces of it in his blood.
Sure.
He couldn't take the medal home. We were all just kind of impressed with him in the first place because we're like, were you stoned when you did that? Because we were kind of hoping that he was, because there's that sense of respect, like you were stoned and you did like backflips on a skating board off a mountain. Good for you, sir.
If you agree to the rules when you sign up to compete, and then you break the rules, then that's on you.
I mean, he still should have known better, which is why he had to take the loss.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you know the rules and then you break them, that's you. That's not oppression. That's you being a dickhead and a dumbass and just.
And the thing is she owned up to it. I think the worst thing about this whole story is she owned up to it. She accepted the responsibility for it. Was just like, you know what? I'll clean up and come back and try again harder.
Yeah.
I respected her more for it. And I was like, you know what? I will cheer her on the entire time if that's what she wants to do. And maybe they can work on looking at that law and be like whether or not it's necessary or not. I don't know.
I think if the rule is no drugs, then pot's a drug. I mean...
Well,
yeah, but it's for performance enhancing, and I don't know with pot, because for some stuff it does.
Pot is not in and of itself performance
Yeah.
enhancing, but what it does do is it does have effects on you that don't increase your performance, but allow you to increase your performance regardless of it. Like pot has a tendency to dull pain to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So you can work out harder and gain an advantage because you're using pot, because you're not going to hurt as much. See what I'm saying? It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not like adrenaline. It's not like you put it in, you can run faster, or that kind of thing. It's not like that, but it's kind of still possible to bust your ass that percentage more if you're smoking pot. I don't smoke. I don't know, but that's kind of where I think all this is coming from.
I mean, I look at it as you know the rules. You signed up. You agreed to them, and you entered the competition. So I mean, I'm glad that this woman basically said, "No, fair cop. You got me. I shouldn't have done that." And everyone else is making the fuss, but it sounds like she herself was just like, "Yeah, I done fucked up."
Yeah, for her, I was like, kudos for owning it, and like, if you come back stronger and clean up, then yeah, I'll fully support her for that, just because I think that's more heroic, actually, to own up to a mistake and then
Yeah.
succeed past it.
It'd be tough to do 4 years though. You're basically in jail for 4 years because you can't compete at this one. You have to wait 4 years for the next one.
Yep.
I mean,
tough.
it's harsh, but I mean,
You knew.
Yeah,
Not like you didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you take the risk of being caught whenever you break the rules, and I mean it sucks that there's no competitions until 4 years from now. But I mean that's the risk she took, and it didn't pay off.
All right. Jen, you wanted to talk about Brittany?
Yeah, I just wanted to do a quick update. So let me just pull up my Twitter, because there was multiple things on her. Yeah, it happened a couple of hours ago, and I know not everybody gives a shit about Brittany, and I understand that. Just but it's just her case was so fucking weird that I was like, I'm gonna follow this, just because this is stuff that was going on during, I would say, my high school years and up. I think Terry said about the same. I think you're a little bit older than us, Hammer, so you might have been lucky and not had to be stuck with
a little bit.
Brittany High School. Brittany High School was terrible, Hammer. It was bad.
I'll take your word.
It was bad. But at the same time, I could tell, as a girl growing up, watching girls like her and Christina Aguilera and the whole lot of them, it was very, the whole situation was iffy. Like, there was a whole lot of stuff that stank in that scenario when it came to Hollywood, in that crowd, and the way the girls were treated. Like, I heard stories about Brittany, and all of them being given drugs before performances, before doing things to, get them more high, more willing to go do things, and it's just like, you can't expect somebody to do that kind of stuff and then come out being completely okay afterwards.
Well, you end up shaving your head,
Yeah, I know. Like, she that was that had to. I found out a whole bunch of stuff on her just because of this whole debacle.
Mm-hmm.
But that whole thing had to do with her child. Like, she'd had her 2 children, and they basically told her that she wasn't going to be allowed to see her children. Otherwise, she had to go to this what is it? A detox clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And she had to take all these tests, and she was in the middle of postmortem depression. Like, she should have been getting some help, and it's just the people that were trying to give her help. It was more like, we're going to force you to take more mental drugs, or we're going to put you in this situation. And they actually alerted the press to where they sent her. Her own family did that.
Yeah. So
the minute she goes to leave, the minute she goes to leave to go see her family, and she's got all these people in front of her photographing her. So she just flipped. I kind of remember that story from before too. Like, I remember hearing about it and just being like, yeah, I don't blame her for having a mental breakdown. And honestly, the leave her alone thing was kind of where I felt people should stand, just out of compassion. You know, like, she's having a hard time, just leave her alone. But after that, I understand when you've gone through those things, when you have that kind of money, when you're that kind of person, it probably is a good idea to have somebody who's a really firm consultant. I understand when you're a child that, you know, you have your parents in charge of your funds. But basically what it is she made an appeal on, let me just make sure that I'm using the right term, because I'm bad at. Yeah, so she wanted to get the right to choose her own attorney, which was a thing. Yeah, the conservatorship is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That her father runs. You know, she's actually paying for his staff. She pays for his lawyers, who she's now fighting with her own lawyers. Like, everything that she's going through right now, she's paying for, because of the conservatorship. I understand when you're that level of a person, it should be a good idea to have someone to consult when it comes to your money. You know, especially when you're surrounded by so many people who are going to use you, and it looks like her family's kind of like that. And I'm not surprised. It's Hollywood. Like,
yeah.
But basically, the update on that situation is that the court has allowed her to appoint her own lawyer, and she's now taking her dad to court so she can remove the conservatorship.
Very nice.
I hope it goes well for her. You know, or at the very least, she can change it to someone who isn't her father, because he clearly distresses her. But, like, this is just, it does kind of bother me that people are just so willing to throw it to the side just because it's Britney Spears. I get that a lot of people hate Hollywood. I genuinely hate Hollywood. I have for a really long time. It's just, this is an example of, like, here is somebody actually being tormented in front of people, but we're going to willingly not give a shit because, oh, well, it's Britney Spears. And then we wonder why we don't give a shit about anybody else. You know, these people in Hollywood project this shit on everybody. You know? And this is how I felt probably since I was 15. Disney really, really kind of did that to me. Like, whenever I watched that kind of stuff, I kind of noticed with the girls that they always came out, like, cracked out and, like, doped up and, like, really fucked up in the head. You know, and these are still, like, I don't know. These are the Me Too people. You know, these are the Me Too people who are causing problems for everybody else, but they're the same people who are willing to throw the Britney Spears under the bus. Because that's a lot of what I've been reading too. It's actually kind of amazing.
This is not uncommon. You had Lindsay Lohan and Amanda Bynes, and it seems to be tougher on the girls. Not that the guys don't do it. I mean, Macaulay Culkin had his issues and stuff like that, but it seems like I think at this point she's old enough now where if she wants to make her mistakes, she can be responsible for herself.
That's how I feel. Like, if she on her own decides she wants to spend all her money, go for it.
Yeah, it's her money.
Her money. You know, like, I mean, I get that's not a responsible thing to do, and she's got her own kids and stuff. But the thing is like, she knows that she has children. She wants to have another baby. You know, like, somebody who's thinking about that isn't thinking about, I want to give my money to everybody else. I want to spend time with my children.
How old is she now?
She's around my age. I'm 39. I'm 39, so she'd be in her 40s.
I can understand her wanting to have a baby because time's running out. 39.
You know, and her other two were
30.
and her other two were taken from her. I mean, she has some visitations with her kids, but it's not the same as, like, growing up with your children.
Got a long road.
You know, so I wish her luck. I just, you know, I'll probably stand in the crowd of the just leave the lady alone crowd. Just, you know, I feel that way about all celebrities. I've probably am one of those rare people that you meet who tells you that, like, the first time I was introduced to media and how media treats people regardless of who you are was Johnny Depp, was Princess Diana, was all these examples of just why I didn't want to be a famous person. You know, like it was.
Yeah.
It sounds great to have all that money and power and shit, but like you either go crazy because of the shit that you did, you know, whatever it is that you had to do to get your roles or whatever, or the drugs that you end up on. Like I don't know. These people are like not something to. I wouldn't aspire to be that. No.
I don't know who said it, but someone said, if you've always wanted to be rich and famous, try just being rich, see if that doesn't do it for you.
That's a good
Right?
line. I like that line.
Right?
Well, I hope things turn out for her. But we're a little bit over, so we should probably cut the show at this point. Terry, you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Go ahead and end the show. See if I can get... Yeah, good. Music's playing. I wanted to go over the schedule real quick before we get out of here, because the schedule has changed and we'll be changing it more. Our mainstays of Inquisitor is still Monday. Tuesday is still Skep Tock. Wednesday is now me, yay, and Terry and Jen. And then Thursday is currently open. Sanguine will be covering, but we're going to have a new host on Thursday. Friday is going to be Sanguine now, because I've taken his Wednesday from him. I'm a meanie. Saturday is still Harry, and Sunday is still Poppy and Delahazed. So some changes to the lineup and more changes to come. We're going to have a Thursday host in not too long. I'm not going to tell you who it is. You'll have to figure that out for yourself.
Surprise!
It's not you. Don't say that. You're not hosting on Thursday.
I know I'm not. I'm saying that it is a surprise.
It will be a surprise. I don't think anybody's going to see this one coming. That's a good thing. So we'll go ahead and get out of here. I want to thank chat for stopping by and contributing to the stream. I hope everybody has a great night. Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, we're out.